Have you ever felt it? That creeping sensation that arrives in the pre-dawn stillness or in the profound silence of midnight, when the noise of the world finally dies away and the only voice left is a whisper from within? The sense that the life you have so carefully constructed, the very architecture of your existence, is not truly your home. You've followed the rules, you've climbed the ladders others expected you to climb, you've achieved the milestones that earn applause and admiration. Yet, in the quiet chambers of your own soul, there is an echo, a void. This isn't mere sadness or anxiety, it is a deeper kind of fatigue, a spiritual exhaustion. It is the exhaustion that comes from carrying the immense weight of Ascilium, the gap between who you are and who you pretend to be. Society crafts for us a series of masks: the good son, the diligent employee, the perfect partner. We wear them willingly, hoping for acceptance, for security. But the real tragedy is not in the wearing of the mask. The tragedy begins when we can no longer distinguish the mask from our own face, when the applause for the character we play becomes the only thing that tells us who we are. Ask yourself, in a moment of radical honesty, is the praise you receive for you or for the role you perform so flawlessly? Are you terrified of letting the world see the thoughts, the desires, the unacceptable appetites that you keep locked away in the dark? Do you ever feel like a stranger in your own story? If these questions resonate in your spirit, know this: you are not alone. And more importantly, this feeling of being lost is not a character flaw. It is not a failure. It is a summons. It is an ancient call from the depths of your own psyche to begin the most sacred and perilous journey a human being can take. The great explorer of the soul, Carl Jung, had a name for this journey: individuation. And he left us a map to find our way back home to the true self.
To understand this map, we must journey into the mind of its creator, Carl Jung. At a time when modern psychology was content to walk the safe, well-lit shores of the conscious mind, concerning itself only with what was measurable and visible, Jung was a different kind of explorer. He was an archaeologist of the psyche, one who understood that the most valuable treasures lie buried in the deepest, darkest vaults. He plunged himself into the churning ocean of the unconscious, a realm his contemporaries feared. And in those depths, he did not find monsters. He found the very architecture of the human soul, the primordial archetypes shared across all cultures and all of time. His most central discovery was the process he called individuation. Individuation, in its essence, is the process of becoming truly individual, that is, undivided. It is the sacred art of reclaiming all the exiled parts of your being and forging them into a coherent, integrated whole. The ultimate goal of this journey is not perfection. Perfection is a sterile, lifeless illusion. The goal is wholeness. Wholeness means embracing the messy, contradictory, beautiful, and terrifying totality of who you are. It means becoming yourself, completely and unapologetically. The map Jung charted for this journey has 4 primary territories that every traveler must navigate. The first territory is the most familiar, the persona. Persona is the Latin word for the masks worn by actors in ancient Greek theater. It is your social face, the curated version of yourself that you present to the world in order to function in society. The persona is not inherently bad. It is necessary. You have a persona at work, with your family, among your friends. It is the diplomat your psyche sends out into the world. The danger, as we touched upon, begins when you forget that the diplomat is not the king. It is when you identify so completely with your mask that you believe you are the mask. This is the birthplace of that hollow, fraudulent feeling, because your soul knows the applause is for the performance, not for the real actor beneath. The journey of individuation begins with acknowledging this gap, with the realization that you are infinitely vast than the role you were playing.
The second territory is darker, deeper, and infinitely more powerful: the shadow. The shadow is the vessel for everything you have repressed about yourself. Every impulse, trait, desire, and instinct that you, your family, or society has labeled as unacceptable, bad, or shameful. Your rage, your envy, your lust, your laziness, your greed, they are all banished to this dark kingdom. Society tells you to fear your shadow, to deny it, to keep it locked away. But Jung revealed a revolutionary truth. What we repress does not disappear. It gains power in the dark. It begins to unconsciously run our lives. It erupts in sudden fits of rage, in repeating patterns of self-sabotage, and in the harsh judgments we cast upon others. Very often, that which infuriates you most in another person is a direct echo of your own unacknowledged shadow. But here is the greatest secret. The shadow is not just a container for darkness. It is a wellspring of immense vitality, raw creativity, and profound authenticity. The gold, Jung insisted, is always found in the dark. Your power, your assertiveness, and the most potent parts of your being are imprisoned in the shadow. To integrate the shadow does not mean to become an evil person. It means to bring this powerful energy into your consciousness, to own it, and to learn to wield it constructively. Until you make peace with your darkness, your light can never be whole. The third territory is a subtle and mysterious realm, the anima and animus. Jung discovered that the human psyche is psychologically bisexual. Within the unconscious of every man lies an inner feminine archetype, the anima. And within the unconscious of every woman lies an inner masculine archetype, the animus. This has little to do with biology and everything to do with psychological energies. The anima in a man carries qualities like intuition, creativity, the capacity for deep relationship, and receptivity. The animus in a woman carries qualities like logic, assertiveness, courage, and structure. In a culture that often teaches men to suppress their feelings and women to suppress their assertiveness, these inner counterparts remain undeveloped. This leads to a sense of imbalance and a constant search for our other half out in the world. The journey of individuation, however, teaches that this sacred union must first occur within. The man must integrate his inner feminine and the woman her inner masculine. This inner marriage is the source of true wisdom, balance, and creativity. And finally, after navigating these territories, we arrive at the ultimate destination, which is also the point of origin, the self. Do not confuse the self with the ego. The ego is the center of your conscious mind. It's the part of you that says, I think, therefore I am. But the self is the center of your entire psyche, both conscious and unconscious. It is the totality of your being. If your psyche were a solar system, your ego would be the planet Earth. But the self is the central sun, the organizing principle around which everything else revolves. The self is that quiet inner voice that calls you toward individuation. It is that gut feeling that a path is right or wrong. It is your inner compass, always pointing toward wholeness, even when the ego refuses to listen. That feeling of emptiness and being lost we spoke of at the beginning is nothing less than the cry of the self, a cry for your attention, a plea for you to break free from the tyranny of the persona, to confront your shadow, to unite your inner opposites, and finally, to align with the true center of your being. Do you see it now? Jung did not give us a mere psychological theory. He gave us the lost map to the human soul, the key to unlock the prison of our own making,
The path is now charted. The journey must now begin.
A map, no matter how precise, is worthless until you take the first step. Theory without practice is mere mental entertainment. Now that we know the territories of the psyche, the time has come to become practical explorers of that realm. But before we take that first step, a word of warning. This is not a 5-step listicle for instant happiness. This is not a life hack or a quick fix. This is the magnum opus, the great work of the ancient alchemists. It is a process that demands the courage of a warrior to face the dragons within, and the patience of a monk to quietly observe the transformations. This is the path of self-mastery. We will break this journey down into 4 practical stages. These are not linear steps where one ends and the next begins. They are more like 4 currents that intertwine, feeding and strengthening one another. Stage 1, confronting the persona, the art of the undoing. The first step is always awareness. You cannot escape a prison you don't know you're in. The goal of this stage is to create a conscious space between you and your masks. The primary strategy here is radical solitude and unflinching journaling. By solitude, I do not mean simply being in a room by yourself. I mean the creation of a sacred space where the gaze of others does not exist. No expectations, no judgment. In this silence, take a journal and answer these questions, not with your calculating mind, but with your soul. Let the words flow without censorship. Ask yourself, in what moments today did I say yes when my entire being screamed no? Why? Whose approval was I afraid of losing? Whose disappointment did I want to avoid? Write down, if money, status, and the opinions of my friends and family were completely irrelevant, how would I spend the next week? What would I stop doing immediately? And what would I start? And the deepest question, what parts of my true personality are so frightening or shameful to me that I prefer to hide them under the mask of a nice or successful person? This practice will be painful at first. You may feel like a hypocrite or feel a deep sense of grief as you see the chasm between your true self and your social self. This is normal. This is the pain of waking up. It is like a muscle atrophied for years, being used for the first time. With every journal entry, you are snipping another thread of the mask. You're slowly, deliberately shedding your skin. The goal is not to destroy the persona. You need it to function in the world. The goal is to become its master, not its slave. You learn to consciously choose when and why to wear a mask, and most importantly, you never again forget the true face that lies beneath. This is the first great step toward authenticity.
Stage 2. Integrating the shadow, mining for gold in the dark. This is the most perilous and therefore the most rewarding stage of the journey. This is where most people turn back, because to face the shadow is to face everything we have spent a lifetime denying. The primary strategy here is projection hunting and inner dialogue. Projection is the powerful psychological defense mechanism where we attribute our own repressed and unwanted traits to other people. Your intense emotional reactions to others, both positive and negative, are a treasure map leading directly to your shadow. From this day forward, become an observer of your reactions. Imagine you have a colleague whose arrogance and showboating drives you mad. You feel a visceral anger towards them. Stop right there. Instead of drowning in your judgment of them, turn that arrow of inquiry back towards yourself. Do not ask, "Why is he so obnoxious?" Ask, "What part of my own ambition, my own desire to be seen and acknowledged, have I repressed so violently that seeing it in another person fills me with rage?" Perhaps you were taught as a child to be humble, and that any form of self-promotion was selfish. As a result, you exiled a powerful part of yourself to the shadow, and now it screams for attention through your anger at another. Or perhaps it's the opposite. You find yourself intensely admiring someone for their carefree spirit and rebelliousness. Ask yourself, what part of my soul longs for freedom from rules and responsibilities, a part that I have suppressed in the name of being responsible? Create a shadow journal. Every time you have an intense emotional reaction to a person or situation, write it down. Identify the trait that triggered you. Then ask, where does this trait, anger, fear, envy, laziness, exist in my own life, even in a small way? What is its message for me? How could the energy of this trait be used constructively? The energy of envy, for example, can show you exactly what you truly desire in life and become the fuel to pursue it. The energy of anger can give you the power to set healthy, necessary boundaries. This is psychological alchemy. You are transmuting the worthless lead of your unconscious reactions into the brilliant gold of conscious power. You are taking the fuel for self-sabotage and rerouting it to the engine of your own growth. This stage transforms you from a victim of your own unconscious patterns into a conscious warrior who draws power from the totality of your being.
Stage 3. Dialoguing with the anima and animus, the sacred inner marriage. After confronting the mask and exploring the darkness, the psyche is ready for deeper integration, the union of the masculine and feminine energies within. This stage brings balance, wisdom, and profound creativity to your life. The strategy here is the conscious cultivation of your inner opposite and dream analysis. Modern culture often pushes us to one extreme. Men are expected to be logical, decisive, and unemotional, suppressing their inner feminine, the anima. Women are expected to be nurturing, emotional, and receptive, suppressing their inner masculine, the animus. This imbalance is the source of much discontent. If you are a man, consciously dedicate time to nurturing your anima. This is not about abandoning your masculinity, it is about completing it. Instead of immediately trying to fix the problems of your loved ones, practice deep listening. Hold space for their feelings. Begin a creative practice with no logical goal. Paint, learn an instrument, write poetry, spend time in nature. These activities open the channels to your intuition, your feeling tone, and your creative soul. If you are a woman, consciously dedicate time to developing your animus. This is not about losing your femininity, it is about empowering it. Take charge of your personal finances. Learn to defend your point of view with logic and reason in a debate. Lead a personal project from start to finish. Learn to say no with clarity and to set firm boundaries. These actions cultivate structure, independence, and the power of directed will. Simultaneously, pay attention to your dreams. Dreams are the language of the unconscious. Notice the figures of the opposite sex in your dreams. They are often messengers from your anima or animus. Is the figure supportive or threatening? What do they say or do? Keep a dream journal and write down what you see without judgment. This begins a direct dialogue with these deep parts of yourself. The result of this inner union is a profound wisdom and maturity. You are no longer desperately dependent on an external partner to feel complete. You become an integrated whole within yourself, able to think with logic and feel with heart, to be assertive and to be receptive.
Stage 4. Aligning with the self, following the inner compass.
This final stage is less a task to be done and more a state of being that emerges from the successful navigation of the first three. When the noise of the persona has been quieted, when the roar of the shadow has been acknowledged and calmed, and when the inner opposites begin their dance of union, a new quiet voice can be heard, the voice of the self. The strategy here is to cultivate stillness, observe synchronicities, and trust the process. The self does not shout. Its voice is heard in the silence. A daily meditation practice, even for just 10 minutes, is essential. The goal of meditation is not to empty the mind. It is to become a neutral observer of your thoughts and feelings, to detach from them and access a deeper space within. It is in this space that the intuition and guidance of the self can arise. Begin to notice synchronicities in your life. A synchronicity is a meaningful coincidence. You are thinking about a difficult problem and a book falls off a shelf, opening to a page that speaks directly to your issue. You are contemplating a career change, and an old friend who works in that exact field calls you out of the blue. Jung believed these were not accidents. They were signs from the self, indicating that you are on the right path. They are winks from the universe, confirming that your inner force is aligning with a larger current. And finally, the most crucial part of this stage is trust. Trust the process of individuation. Trust the wisdom that is emerging from within you. Even when the path feels difficult or unclear, trust that inner sense of rightness. This is what it means to follow your inner compass, even if all the external maps point in a different direction. It means having faith that you are being guided toward wholeness and authenticity. This journey has no final destination where you one day arrive and are done. It is a lifelong dance, a dance between light and shadow, between being and becoming. But by walking this path, you are no longer a leaf tossed about by the winds of circumstance. You become the tree, with roots running deep into the dark soil of the unconscious, and branches reaching confidently toward the light of consciousness. You become who you are.
We began this journey together, from the silent echo in a life that felt inauthentic, to the lost map of the soul charted by Carl Jung, and from there to the alchemical four-stage path of reclaiming the self. We have learned to identify our masks, to search for gold in the darkness of our shadow, to dance with our inner opposites, and to trust the compass of the self. Remember, the goal of this journey is not to arrive at some peaceful, perfect shore. Life is a tempestuous ocean. The goal is to become the master of your own vessel, one who can navigate the most violent of storms with integrity and courage. The journey of individuation transforms you from a victim of circumstance into the conscious architect of your own character. It is the great shift from a life of mere survival to a life of true becoming. And now, I leave you with a challenge, a question not for your mind, but for your soul. If you were to excavate just one treasure from the deepest, darkest mine of your own shadow, the one you are most afraid of confronting, what would that treasure be? Is it your repressed anger, which, when properly wielded, becomes the power to set inviolable boundaries? Is it your fear, which, when fully faced, transmutes into profound courage? Or perhaps it is your envy, which, when honestly examined, reveals the precise address of your soul's deepest longing. Write your answer in the comments below, not for performance, not for validation, but as a declaration, a pact made with yourself. Let this comment section be our collective ritual of courage, a space where each of us announces the first step toward embracing our own totality. We will read every single declaration with the respect and attention it deserves.
This journey inward is the foundation for everything. It is the forging of an unshakable inner citadel. But once that citadel is built, it must be tested in the world. The journey of individuation prepares you for the battle of life. But how must one fight that battle? A different, formidable philosopher, Friedrich Nietzsche, had a radical answer. He asks us not merely to bear our fate, but to love it, a concept he called amor fati, the love of one's fate. In our next videos, we will step beyond Jung's map and pick up Nietzsche's hammer. We will learn how to take the power gained from our own wholeness and face everything life throws at us, the good, the bad, and the horrific, and to look it in the eye and say yes again. To continue this essential expedition into self-mastery, subscribe to Mirror of Wisdom and activate the notification bell. The journey is far from over.